Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History. Today, we journey deep into the world of one of the most fascinating pieces of early American coinage, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1914. The coin sitting in front of us is far more than a piece of metal. It is a survivor from a different time, a relic from an era when the world looked nothing like it does today. Imagine America in 1914. Horses still trotted across dirt roads in small towns, factories were roaring with growing industrial power, and the very idea of the modern world was only just beginning to take shape. Into this unfolding century came a new symbol of national pride, the Lincoln cent, holding the portrait of the 16th president who forever changed the nation's destiny. By 1914, the wheat cent had already become a part of everyday American life, but this specific year would eventually earn a special place in the hearts of collectors. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of these coins, but each surviving penny feels like a little time capsule, carrying the fingerprints of history. Perhaps it rattled inside the pocket of a trolley conductor, or maybe it bought a loaf of bread for a family during a cold winter. Every one of them has a story. What makes the 1914 cent so captivating is not only its age but also the deeper mystery behind the few beautifully preserved examples that exist today. The vast majority of these pennies circulated heavily. They lived busy lives, changing hands thousands of times until their surfaces softened and their sharp details wore away. But every now and then, a spectacular survivor appears, a coin that avoided the grind of time, a coin that somehow remained crisp, bold, and magnificent. Collectors know that condition is everything. A worn penny may hold history, but a pristine penny holds history and value. And the moment you look closely at an uncirculated 1914 Lincoln wheat cent, you begin to see why collectors describe it as artwork. The rays in the wheat stalks are sharp and full of life. Lincoln's profile stands tall with every curve of his beard still intact. The surfaces gleam with that classic copper brilliance that only early American cents possess, but value is not created by beauty alone. Rarity, demand, and the story behind the coin all play their part. While millions of 1914 cents were minted, only a tiny fraction remain in high condition today. For collectors, that scarcity transforms an everyday penny into a treasure worth chasing. Stories spread of people finding them in old jars, in forgotten envelopes tucked inside dresser drawers, even inside the pockets of coats that hadn't been worn for generations. The dream of discovery keeps searchers searching and keeps this coin alive in the imagination of coin lovers everywhere. Now imagine being at an auction. The room is quiet except for whispered conversations among bidders who know exactly what they are looking at. A 1914 Lincoln wheat penny is placed on display. Not just any penny, but a stunning example with original luster, bold details, and surfaces that seem to glow under the auction lights. The air tightens as the bidding begins. Numbers climb, hands rise, collectors hesitate, then push forward again. This is not just a sale. It is a moment when history is given a price, and a small copper coin becomes a star. People sometimes ask why a simple penny could be worth more than a house or a car. The answer is simple. You are not buying metal. You are buying rarity, survival, heritage, and the story of America's past tucked into the smallest currency the nation ever made. A century-old coin like this one is cherished because it bridges generations. It has lived through 2 world wars, the birth of modern technology, the rise and fall of entire eras. And yet here it is, unchanged, untouched by time in the ways that truly matter. For collectors, owning a 1914 Lincoln wheat penny is like holding history between your fingertips. You can feel the weight, not just of copper, but of a moment frozen forever. And now, for the part everyone waits for, the auction price that stunned collectors and echoed across the numismatic world. One spectacular 1914 Lincoln wheat penny in exceptional mint state condition once sold for the breathtaking sum of over $4,000. Today's journey takes us more than 100 years into the past, back to the era when the United States was adjusting to life after World War I. The year was 1919. The country was changing, recovering, rebuilding, reinventing itself. But in the pockets of everyday Americans, something small, copper, and surprisingly important was quietly circulating. A tiny coin that would later become a prized collectible, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1919. This isn't just a coin. It's a survivor of history. Imagine the hands that touched it. Soldiers returning from war, farmers struggling through the early signs of economic hardship, factory workers helping build a modern America. Every single 1919 wheat cent has lived a life longer than most people ever will. And today, we're going to explore the story behind this cent, why collectors chase it, what makes certain versions incredibly valuable, and how one tiny penny can sell for shockingly high amounts at auctions. Let's begin our journey by stepping into the world of early 20th century America. The Wheat Penny series had already been in circulation for 10 years by 1919. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent became the first coin in U.S. history to feature a real person and not a symbolic representation of liberty. The nation chose Abraham Lincoln because 1909 was the centennial of his birth, and there was no greater icon of unity and freedom than the 16th president. The fact that this same design continued into 1919 makes the coin an important continuation of that national tribute. The obverse of the 1919 wheat cent displays the familiar portrait of President Lincoln, dignified, calm, and reflective. The word liberty sits to the left, and to the right is the phrase "In God We Trust," which had become deeply meaningful during wartime and recovery. Beneath Lincoln is the date, 1919, marking the era when this coin entered circulation. On the reverse side, we find two curved stalks of wheat, symbolizing strength, agriculture, and the workers who powered the nation. Between them sits the bold lettering 1 cent, and below that, United States of America. Above, the phrase E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Even on a coin worth a single cent, the message was unity, resilience, and national pride. But what turns this everyday coin into something extraordinary? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and mint variety. The 1919 penny was struck in 3 different mint locations that year: Philadelphia, which used no mint mark; Denver, which carries the D symbol; and San Francisco, marked with an S. While the Philadelphia coins are the most common, the Denver and San Francisco versions are often harder to find in premium condition. Millions of these coins were produced for daily use, and that means most of them were spent, scraped, rubbed, and worn down after decades of handling. A typical circulated example might look dark, scratched, and even slightly bent. But when a coin survives in exceptional condition, especially in its original red copper coloration, its value skyrockets. Only a tiny fraction of 1919 pennies still shine like the day they left the mint, and those are the coins collectors dream of owning. One of the most fascinating aspects of old pennies is how small differences can create massive variations in value. A coin with strong strike details, crisp lettering, minimal spots, and full original luster can attract intense bidding from serious collectors. A single grade difference, just one step on the grading scale, can increase a coin's worth by hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Mint errors can also push values into impressive territory. Off-center strikes, die cracks, lamination errors, and misaligned dies make a 1919 cent far more desirable. These mistakes are like historical fingerprints, unique, impossible to duplicate, and often extremely valuable. But perhaps the greatest appeal of the 1919 wheat penny lies in its age and historical significance. It was minted during a time of incredible transformation. The United States was experiencing new technologies, new politics, new social movements, and a new global identity. The country was growing rapidly, but it was also experiencing tension, challenge, and uncertainty. Every coin from that year is a physical piece of that history. To hold one is to hold a century of American memory. As collectors, we aren't just buying a coin. We're preserving the past. We're honoring the artistry of the mint engravers. We're keeping alive the legacy of the Lincoln design. And most importantly, we're giving value to objects that once circulated unnoticed through the hands of millions. Now comes the part many of you have been waiting for, the surprising reality of what a 1919 Lincoln wheat penny can sell for when it is found in nearly flawless condition. When lightning strikes, when an example is discovered with nearly perfect surfaces, blazing red color, and flawless original details, collectors are willing to compete fiercely for ownership. Today, We're traveling nearly 100 years into America's past to uncover a small but powerful relic of time, a coin that millions carried in their pockets during the Roaring Twenties, the Great Depression, and the decades that followed. A tiny copper artifact that has become a prized collectible for both beginners and veteran numismatists alike. The United States of America Lincoln Wheat 1 cent from the year 1926. Think for a moment about what life in America looked like in 1926. Cars were becoming common on city streets, radios were filling living rooms with music, jazz was sweeping the culture, and the country was experiencing economic growth like never before. Silent films were giving way to talkies, skyscrapers were rising, and families were dreaming bigger than ever. It was the peak of the Roaring Twenties, a time of ambition, extravagance, and optimism. And in the pockets of everyday Americans during that time was the humble Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1926 wheat cent is more than a small copper disc. It's a witness to American evolution. It traveled through the age of flappers and speakeasies, it may have passed through bread lines during the Great Depression, it could have been handled by soldiers heading off to World War II, and it was still in circulation long after the war ended. Whenever someone picks up a 1926 penny today, they are holding a century of American life compressed into one tiny coin. Let's explore what makes this coin so captivating. The obverse continues the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, created by the artist Victor David Brenner. The design had already been circulating for just over a decade when the 1926 edition was minted. Lincoln's image was chosen originally to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth, but it soon became a beloved and enduring symbol on American coinage. With the calm, noble expression on his face, Lincoln's portrait represents strength, compassion, unity, and leadership, qualities that Americans admired through the turbulent decades that followed. Turn the coin over and you see the famous wheat reverse. Two wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America. The wheat ears are a tribute to American agriculture and the workers who built the country. Above the wheat sits the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Even on a 1 cent coin, the message is powerful. The 1926 penny reminds us that America's strength lies in unity, but the real excitement begins when we talk about rarity, condition, and the differences between mint locations. Many people don't realize that the mint mark on a wheat penny can change its value dramatically. The 1926 penny was minted in 3 places: Philadelphia, which used no mint mark, Denver, which stamped its coins with AD, and San Francisco, which used an S. Although the Philadelphia mintage was high, the same cannot be said for the San Francisco version. The 1926 S penny is one of the tougher coins of the entire wheat penny series to find in high grade, especially with original red color. Condition is everything, and the scarcity of pristine examples makes collectors chase it fiercely. Most 1926 pennies surviving today show heavy wear. Remember, these coins circulated during the Great Depression. People used every cent they had, often for years. Hard economic times meant that few coins were saved in perfect shape. Many pieces from this year appear brown, worn smooth, or darkened by age. A strong, original red copper example is treasured like gold by collectors. The grading scale used by professionals plays an enormous role in determining a coin's value. A 1926 penny with sharp details in Lincoln's beard, crisp lettering, and a full, glowing copper surface will land a much higher grade and command significantly more attention in auctions. Even a single step up the grading scale, from extremely fine to about uncirculated, or from about uncirculated to mint state, can multiply a coin's value. What makes hunting for wheat pennies thrilling is the possibility of discovering a rare condition piece or an unexpected mint error. Off-center strikes, die cracks, die breaks, clogged lettering, weak strikes, and lamination flaws can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable standout. Error coins are fascinating because no two are exactly alike. A 1926 error penny can transform into a unique treasure that collectors are willing to battle for. Beyond condition and rarity, the sentimental and historical impact of the 1926 penny adds to its desirability. It represents an era of American glamour and growth, a time when jazz clubs lit up the nightlife, when factories buzzed with production, and when confidence filled the air. But it's also a reminder of what followed, the stock market crash of 1929 and the long, difficult years of the Great Depression. A penny from 1926 witnessed both the height of prosperity and the beginning of struggle. It survived a remarkable story. Holding one of these coins today is like holding a tiny time traveler. It makes you wonder about the people who spent it. Did it buy a newspaper? A cup of coffee? A child's candy? Was it dropped into a savings jar by someone trying to get ahead? Did it jingle in the pocket of someone dancing the Charleston? The possibilities spark the imagination. Collectors today love these coins because they represent more than value. They represent heritage, craftsmanship, and the enduring legacy of a design that became a national icon. And yet, for certain rare examples, the value can rise far beyond what anyone might expect from a single penny. Today, we're going back in time to a moment that changed the world and shaped the lives of millions of Americans. The year was 1945, a pivotal year in world history. World War II was coming to an end, soldiers were returning home, families were reuniting, and the United States was entering a new era of hope and reconstruction. But in the hands of ordinary citizens, tucked into pockets, jars, and drawers, circulated a small copper coin that would carry a century of history, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1945. This isn't just any penny. This coin witnessed the end of one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. It may have passed from the hands of soldiers leaving for the battlefield to those celebrating their safe return. It might have been used to buy a loaf of bread during rationing, a newspaper chronicling the day's victory headlines, or even tucked into a child's piggy bank for the future. Every 1945 penny carries a story, a fragment of history, and a connection to a transformative moment in America. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series had already been in circulation for over 30 years by 1945, and yet the design remained as iconic as ever. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln graced the obverse of the coin, a symbol of unity, freedom, and leadership. Lincoln's thoughtful gaze reminds us of the principles he stood for and the enduring spirit of the nation he helped save. The inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" flank the portrait, while the year 1945 marks the coin as a relic of an extraordinary historical period. Turn the coin over, and you're met with the classic wheat reverse. Two stalks of wheat frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, while the motto E pluribus unum sits proudly above. This imagery, simple yet powerful, celebrates the agricultural backbone of America, the resilience of its people, and the unity of its states. Even a coin of such modest denomination carries with it a powerful national message. What makes the 1945 penny truly fascinating to collectors is the combination of history, scarcity, and condition. While millions were minted during that year, very few survived in excellent condition. Coins that circulated extensively often lost their original copper luster, became worn down, or were discolored over time. Finding a coin from this period with strong, original surfaces, crisp details, and minimal signs of wear is an accomplishment that excites collectors. The mint mark also plays a crucial role in determining value. In 1945, coins were produced in Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with AD, and San Francisco with an S. Each mint produced slightly different quantities, and certain mint marks are far rarer than others, especially in high-grade condition. The San Francisco 1945 penny, for example, is particularly prized when it retains its original red coloration and sharp details. Collectors and numismatists often look beyond common circulated coins to seek out the extraordinary. Error coins from this year, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or weakly struck features, are especially valuable. These anomalies are rare, one-of-a-kind fingerprints of the minting process, and they can dramatically increase a coin's worth. A single misalignment or die imperfection can transform an ordinary penny into a historical treasure that commands attention at auctions. But beyond rarity, mint marks, and errors, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny carries an emotional resonance. It represents resilience, perseverance, and the hope of a nation emerging from global conflict. Imagine the hands that held it, the pockets it jangled in, and the jars where it sat patiently waiting to be rediscovered decades later. For collectors, owning one of these coins is not just about monetary value, it's about holding a tangible connection to the past, to the struggles, triumphs, and daily life of Americans 75 or more years ago. Professional grading can elevate the value of a coin exponentially. A 1945 penny with full, original red copper color, well-preserved wheat stalks, and flawless obverse details will fetch far more than one that has been heavily circulated. Even a small difference in grade, from very fine to about uncirculated, or from uncirculated to mint state, can multiply the coin's market value significantly. It's this combination of historical significance, aesthetic beauty, rarity, and condition that keeps collectors hunting for the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Whether displayed in a carefully curated collection, stored safely in a protective holder, or auctioned to the highest bidder, this coin embodies a century of American history in its copper surface. And now, the moment many of you have been waiting for, the astonishing value that a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny can command at auction when found in exceptional, nearly flawless condition. One of the finest known examples ever sold at auction achieved the incredible total of $20,300. Today, we are traveling back more than 60 years to explore a small yet fascinating relic of American history, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from 1958. While it may seem like an ordinary coin to some, this penny holds a story of post-war America, everyday life, and a piece of numismatic history that continues to captivate collectors around the world. The year 1958 was a unique time in American history. The country was in the middle of a post-war boom, with the economy expanding, families moving to suburban neighborhoods, and the baby boom reshaping the cultural landscape. Television sets were becoming a common feature in homes, cars were cruising the highways, and the spirit of optimism was everywhere. Amidst this backdrop, a humble 1-cent coin circulated quietly in pockets, purses, and cash registers, the Lincoln Wheat Penny, carrying with it a century of symbolism and design that had been cherished for decades. The 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny continues the timeless design created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, which was originally introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Lincoln's portrait graces the obverse of the coin with a solemn, dignified expression that has become instantly recognizable. To the left, the word liberty reminds us of the enduring principles on which the nation was founded, while the inscription "In God We Trust" appears above, reflecting the cultural and moral values of the time. Beneath Lincoln, the date 1958 firmly places this coin in a historical context, giving collectors and historians a tangible connection to a specific year in American history. The reverse of the coin is equally iconic. The classic wheat design frames the words 1 cent and United States of America, while E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, is inscribed above. The wheat ears represent the agricultural foundation of the nation and honor the hard work of farmers who had fed generations. Even in the mid-20th century, the Lincoln Wheat Penny served as a reminder of the country's values, the labor of its people, and the unity of its states. While millions of these pennies were produced and circulated, what makes the 1958 penny particularly interesting to collectors is the relationship between condition, rarity, and mint origin. In 1958, pennies were produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with Philadelphia coins carrying no mint mark and Denver coins marked with AD. While the Philadelphia coins are abundant, high-quality Denver coins are often more difficult to find in pristine condition, especially those retaining their original red copper color. Most 1958 pennies that survive today have been heavily circulated, showing darkened surfaces, scratches, and general wear. Yet when one is discovered in uncirculated or nearly perfect condition, its value rises dramatically. A coin with full copper luster, crisp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and strong, clearly defined wheat stalks on the reverse is considered a top-tier collectible. Even minor differences in grading, from very fine to extremely fine, or from uncirculated to mint state, can have a huge impact on value. Beyond condition and mint marks, certain varieties and errors from this year are highly sought after. Coins with die cracks, double dies, misstruck features, or lamination flaws are considered error coins and are treasured in the numismatic community. These coins are essentially one-of-a-kind pieces, capturing a mistake of the minting process and transforming a seemingly ordinary penny into a rare and valuable treasure. The 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny also carries cultural and historical significance. It reflects a time of post-war optimism, economic growth, and social transformation. It represents the quiet moments of everyday life: pocket money for children, change in cash registers, coins tucked into jars for savings. Each coin that survives today is a connection to those moments, a piece of the lived experience of Americans in the mid-20th century. Collectors value it not only for its monetary worth but also for its place in history and the story it tells. Professional grading plays a crucial role in determining the auction value of these coins. A 1958 penny in mint state with flawless surfaces, glowing original red color, and sharp details can sell for significantly more than a circulated example. Coins that are preserved in exceptional condition are rare and highly desirable. The combination of scarcity, historical significance, and quality drives collectors to pay attention to even small differences between examples. For coin collectors, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny is more than a copper disc. It's a miniature time capsule. It connects us to the optimism, the routines, and the small yet meaningful moments of mid-century America. Holding one in your hand is like holding a fragment of history, a witness to decades of change, progress, and cultural development. And now, for the moment that collectors are most curious about: the remarkable value a 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny can command when found in outstanding, nearly flawless condition. One of the finest known examples ever sold at auction achieved the astonishing total of $6,800.